Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Juana Amaria, and I am the Business Services Coordinator for Illinois WorkNet. We're going to do another quick little sound check, make sure that everyone on here can hear me properly. We have a little man at the bottom of the screen right underneath the file share. So this is your lower left-hand corner. Go ahead and click on that little guy, and we're going to play Simon Says. And you're going to raise your hand if you can hear me. And go ahead and put your hand down if you have no problems. Now you notice there are a couple of different other options. If we start speaking too soft or too fast, go ahead and let us know. If you think we're funny, go ahead and let us know by laughing, right? There's all these fun options there. So I'm going to go ahead and go through some housekeeping items to let you know what the features on this webinar are. Many of you are very familiar with our Connect Pro meetings and webinars, but I wanted to make sure for the newcomers that we have, Deb thinks we're funny, thanks Deb, that we have everyone covered. So we have a Q&A chat. This is for all of those that are listening via broadcast. This is where you'll be able to post all your questions and make all your comments based on the presentation. Right underneath that, you have a file share with the PowerPoint that is presented today. Go ahead and click on that file name and then save it to your computer. This is how you will be able to download it. It will pop up in a different browser window, and you can go ahead and download to your computer. On your right-hand side, you have the actual presentation, and then you have two polling pods underneath. The first one says, which of the following services are most relevant to you? And you can scroll down. There's tons of different options here. And these are the types of things that we need to know to build more relevant webinars for you as business service team members, coordinators, or just workforce professionals. On the right-hand side is a way for us to gauge how involved you are currently with utilizing volunteers. So go ahead and select if you are currently using volunteers in your local area, so click yes or no. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and switch the screen over, and this way everyone can see better. And I'm going to unmute Mohammed, because that would be helpful since he will be presenting for us today. And just so you know, we are using the handle BSTWRKNet for our Twitter, so you can go ahead and follow the conversation on Twitter, and this is just to make sure that we get some information out there for those that were not able to join us. These are pictures of us. We don't typically use the camera just because it's very distracting, so you get to see who we are. This is Mohammed Fahim from Local Workforce Area 8, and I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my audio options. So as I've mentioned, if you have issues hearing us as we're broadcasting, go ahead and call the conference call number. The number is 866-803-3878, and mute your computer speakers. Now you notice if you possibly didn't get this number down the first time, you can mouse over. There is a phone icon up at the top, and it'll tell you what the conference call number is for this webinar. You can go ahead and call in. Now, when we get to the Q&A portion of this webinar, you will be able to get in queue to ask questions via phone. If you've called in, you can go ahead and press *# to get in queue to ask questions. So this is for the Q&A portion of the webinar. And now, without further delay, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mohammed Fahim. He is the Manager of Business Employer Services and Community Relations with Illinois WorkNet in ELIA 8. And so we're very, very happy to have him on. This is our second session for those of you that missed it on Tuesday. And Mohammed is doing some really great things. We've used him before with our library partnerships. And so I stumbled upon some of the great things that he's doing with volunteers and thought this would be a great option for our business service team members to learn about. And so this is our first attempt at facilitating webinars through our local workforce areas and sharing their best practices. And so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Mohammed.
Hey folks, good afternoon, and welcome to the second edition of the seminar or the webinar over here. Before we go into what is about, you may have a question in your mind as to how is this volunteer effort helping us out as a business service team. So I just wanted to get a quick word in on that. First off, when things have been slow for business service teams as far as posting job orders and things like that, it keeps us in front of the employers and builds a positive image for Illinois WorkNet in the community. Today's job seeker who has attended this workshop might be our employer contact tomorrow. So this is where it's going to be useful for us to keep doing things like that. What's the background on the initiative? This has been for the community and at a local church on a for some of the workshops and things. This whole thing got started, and for a couple of days I sat down and did a brain dump on what I have been hearing in the market from employers as to where they are posting their jobs, what kind of skills they are looking for in candidates, implementing at the employers end, but job seekers were really not knowledgeable about those things. So we came up with a series of PowerPoint presentations that we named as the Power Employment Workshops, and took off from there. We started off with 8 people, did a train-the-trainer kind of thing for about a couple of weeks, and in 30 days, 5 out of those 8 volunteers found jobs implementing the techniques that we were sharing. And so it took off from there. And later on in the presentation, you'll see how many volunteers we have had in this program so far, and the numbers are amazing. So let me go ahead and get in with what the workshops are. First, the volunteers help out with the Power Employment Workshops, and these employment workshops are to prepare job seekers. We have also had industry-specific workshops for our VIA-trained graduates. What we did was we did a quick SWOT analysis of where have we been spending our training dollars at, and came up with the top 8 or 9 areas that we have spent the money in. And then our business services team reached out to employers in those areas and brought them in to address specific cohorts of job seekers in specific areas, from manufacturing to human resources to accounting to project management, IT, healthcare, transportation, all the top 9 areas that we had identified. And then we started partnering with our local libraries, the community colleges, the local chambers of commerce. And our outreach plan depends extensively on electronic outreach. In LVIA 8, we have a huge area to cover from Evanston all the way to the Cook County region of Elgin. About 45,000 plus businesses in the area. So there's no way that we could have physically reached out to every business and touched them. So we do a lot of electronic outreach through our electronic newsletter that we started about 2 years back. We have about 6,600 and odd contacts in our electronic newsletter now. Things that Look at the agenda. What you can do in your own area, and next step learning from our own presentation. Resource that everybody could access. Using Google Documents. So we use a Google Calendar, and we named it as WorkNet Volunteers. Workshops that are scheduled. The workshops are scheduled now in 9 different locations. And the volunteers can look at where the workshops are scheduled. They can look at their own availability, and then they put down if they are available for the full day or part of the day. The modules are 3 different modules, so they can all look up for that. And then there's a workshop and training sessions calendar also. The volunteers are trained on a constant basis. The new volunteers who come in are asked to partner with some of the existing volunteers, and then once a while, I would say about every 2 to 3 months, we bring them in and I hold a session for the training of the volunteers as to what do we expect from them, what is the background of Illinois WorkNet, how is LVIA 8 structured, all of those things. Every volunteer is also asked to sign a talent release form. We are videotaping some of the presentations, and we want to make sure that given a crash course in Illinois WorkNet as to what the website is about and how they can help people understand Illinois WorkNet when they are making their presentations. Okay, going forward, if you look at the Google Calendar, there's also a Documents tab on Google that we upload all the documents, all the training sessions, all the training tools, all the PowerPoint presentations, and they can go, the volunteers can go and take a look at it, click on it, it comes back and gives them more details about who the library contacts are, where the presentations are being held and everything. So that's just a quick screenshot of that. Now going forward with the tools and resources, we have a sign-in sheet that everybody signs in when they register for the workshop. This is for job seekers. And in the sign-in sheet, we want to make sure that we are capturing whether the volunteer, whether the job seeker is a VIA registrant or they are veterans. And every volunteer is supposed to have a copy of this sheet also. Sometimes libraries have their own sign-in that they want to do through their website. So when they do that, when we go to the library to present the workshop, the volunteers pick up a copy of that. They also have copies of the blank copies of the registration with them. It kind of goes into a little bit of detail about how they have to conduct the workshop, and I'll come to that in just a minute. This is a screenshot of the talent release form. And on everything that you see on each one of these screenshots, on the right-hand side, you see a quick tip. Now, Illinois WorkNet is working on coming up with an event management tool, as you see on the right-hand side over here, that the event management tool is coming soon. Till then, because we had nothing else to work with, we started off with the Google Calendar and the Google Tools.
And I just wanted to jump in, as Mohammed said, this is a result of the feedback that we were getting from our case manager workflow studies and from our business service team members as well. saying, we'd like a way to track our employer interactions. And Mohammed had some good suggestions on how to do that as well. And so a way to be able
Every time that somebody goes on to sign up, it's an all-day workshop starting people to sign up as standby presenters also. In the trainer new 2001 modules. So we just released the 2008 action, feedback from the people who are attending the workshops, feedback from the volunteers. We modify the workshops to have the latest information available for them, for the job seekers. There's a great section on Illinois WorkNet about job seekers, individuals when they register, what are the resources available for them, and it is getting better as we speak. So we do take a lot of information from Illinois WorkNet also. Okay, let's talk about a little bit about how we organize the volunteers. It is a huge task, and I've got the great support from my business services team. We have one team member who's designated as our volunteer coordinator. Her name is Julie Madej in our Arlington Heights office. And now Julie is backed up by Fred Ettinger. And if both of them are busy, then I back both of them up. So we have backup and a backup to the backup because we want to make sure that all the information is current on this and everybody makes it to the workshop. If the volunteers have signed in to present the workshop, if they have any issues, if they are unable to present or something, we want to make sure that we reach out to the backup. So there is a little bit of staff involvement in this, but not too much. How do we recruit the volunteers? Like I said, the first thing that we have to understand is that in our job, I mean, it's not a job, it is more a commitment. I think all of us who are in this business need to be committed in more ways than one, okay? But so we started off by volunteering. That's how I got into this program. That's how we started the program. The 3 people who are working in our business services team now came from our volunteers. And we have had a couple more people from the volunteers that we brought into our WorkNet office, one as a career advisor and one as a program manager for a special project we had. He eventually went on to work at Oakton Community College now. So the volunteers are brought into the program through recommendations by the other volunteers. All the workshop attendees who request a copy of the presentation are invited to join the group as volunteers. What we do is we ask the people who are attending the workshop, first we don't hand out copies, paper copies. We try to be green. We want people to pay attention and listen to the presentation. And at the end of the day, if they want a copy of the presentation, they have to send me an email. And I respond back by sending them copies of the presentations and also a little promo about the volunteer program, how it has helped other people, and I invite them to join our volunteer program. And I think I've picked up about 25, 30 volunteers like that so far through that email that I send out. We're also talking about our volunteer program at the VIA orientations that are held. And of course, through our newsletters, we try to promote participation in the volunteer program. I'll tell you the numbers in a bit as to how many volunteers we have had in the program and what has been the success rate for those volunteers in finding jobs themselves. one of the things that we focus on when we are trying to recruit volunteers is what is in it for them. Why would anyone want to volunteer their time? One of the biggest things that I bring out is, hey, you need to be involved. If the employers ask you, if you go in for an interview, if an employer is asking you, what have you been doing since you got laid off? And you say, I've been looking for a job. Really does not sound that good. But if you say that I've been volunteering to help other people, through their transition period in finding a job by working with the Illinois WorkNet centers to present workshops, makes you a heck of a more valuable employee for the employers. That's why when I was looking to have some more people on my business services team, because we had a couple of our business service team members move, the first thing that I did was reach out to my volunteers. I knew these people, I knew their work ethic, I knew their commitment to helping others, and I'm telling you, we have one of the best business services teams that you could hope to have now. Another thing that we do is we host a monthly volunteer meeting to keep the momentum going. And this is in the evening, after business hours, from 6:30 to 9:30 at a local library in the Schaumburg area. We'll be doing it in the Evanston Skokie area also. But we've been doing it for 2 years now, folks. And my staff comes out in the evenings to help me with these meetings. That is the kind of commitment that we have from the staff. And what we do at these monthly evening meetings, first off, we invite all the volunteers who are active, all the volunteers who have found jobs, whom we call the alumni now. We ask them to come and help each other, network with each other. Also, we try to bring in a local business leader or an HR professional to talk about what is happening in the market right now. And we have had quite a few people succeed in finding jobs by networking with each other at these evening meetings. There's also an annual volunteer appreciation party where they receive certificates, which are real nice certificates printed in full color. And we say a certificate of appreciation for volunteering your time with the Illinois WorkNet centers, something that they could put up on their wall and be proud of. We also try to figure out who the top 10 volunteers are based on who has presented the most workshops. We have had people who have presented anywhere from 35 on down to 10 workshops. And all of these, the top 10 receive gift certificates, gift cards valued between $15 to $25. Volunteers get priority when they visit the IDES offices for unemployment-related questions or via services. I mean, if you look at any IDES office now, I'm pretty sure you see this huge lines of people wanting to get answers to their questions. IDES is courteous enough to provide priority service to our volunteers. And volunteers also get a positive recommendation for their LinkedIn profiles and targeted leads for their job search. We are also starting now a dedicated LinkedIn group for volunteers where they can share job leads and help each other out on a more personal basis. So that is how we are bringing in some of the incentives for the volunteers. When they go out for lunch, if they are presenting a workshop, we do pay for their lunch. They turn in their receipts. If they have to pay for parking, we pay for their parking also. So it's not money out of their pocket for them. We want to make sure that the lunch receipts don't exceed $6. So we tell them we are poor people. Okay, going on a little bit into the training of the volunteers. These volunteers are representing Illinois WorkNet, so we want to make sure that they are thoroughly trained to present the workshops. Most of them have no background in public speaking, and after volunteering for 2 to 3 months, if you turn around and look at them, they have become so smooth in their delivery and their presentations, and that helps them when they are looking for a job, when they are meeting somebody, when they are in an interview. And they start off by observing the workshop once or twice until they're comfortable with the material. And then they practice the material and the module flow and identify relevant examples. Like I said, there are 3 modules: resume writing, interviewing, and job search techniques. We want to make sure that they verify the date and time of the workshops, the number of expected participants. Okay, I see that voice is cutting out on speakers every now and then. Okay, let's see. Going back to what I was talking about, we want to make sure that the volunteers know who is providing the equipment, the laptop, and for the PowerPoint, the projectors and stuff. Sometimes the libraries, most of the time, the libraries provide that, but we want to make sure that the volunteers confirm that. They also get a pre-registration sheet if it is available, and each volunteer team of 3 has a designated team leader, and it's the team leader's job to contact the other presenters, make sure that they bring a flash drive, and they have to have a name badge that is presented with Illinois WorkNet on it. Even when they come to our office, they have to have their name badge on. You want to make sure that the volunteers always start the presentations on time, introduce themselves to the other presenters, and build credibility for the presentations by introducing Illinois WorkNet and the services that can be provided, that are provided through Illinois WorkNet. Okay, let's look at, again, the tips for the volunteers. The guidance, we want to make sure that every volunteer is presenting the same PowerPoint workshop. I mean, they can bring in their personal, style to the presentations, but the material we want to make sure is the same material that is presented. It's almost like flipping a burger at McDonald's, and we want to make sure that all of them turn out to be the same. All the materials must be presented to ensure consistency throughout the deliveries. And I cannot begin to tell you, folks, how many emails I get from people who have attended the workshops appreciating the content as well as the attitude and the presentation of the volunteers. I mean, it's phenomenal. We get so many compliments on that. We want to make sure that volunteers, when they are signing up for the workshop, that they will attend the whole presentation. If they are not going to, then they have to let us know or let the team leader know that they are not going to be there for the full day so that we can make other arrangements. We also talk to them about dressing professionally, ties for men, business suit for women. Again, it's a question of how do you project yourself and project Illinois WorkNet. So we want to make sure that they are projecting a professional image. Going forward with the guide volunteers, one of the first questions that I ask the volunteers is when I'm training them is how do they build credibility for their message? Because thinking of it from the job seeker's point of view, when a volunteer gets up and says, I'm volunteering for the Illinois WorkNet Center and I'm searching for a job myself, how do you build credibility in your message? We talk a lot about that as how to do that, and seems to be, very successful. Most of them are just great at this thing. Then we cover housekeeping items, restrooms, coffee, snacks, break times. If you look at the third point in there, play the true-false game to get them warmed up. Bring in a few facts, and it's just to get more involvement from the participants, because we realize that most of the people, when they're looking for a job, when they come in, the first thought in their mind is, how do I write a resume? What do I get out of this? How is this going to help me find my next job? And most of them have a burden on their minds. So we want to draw them out a little bit. And once you start getting involved and you become part of a group, then you're paying more attention to the content of the workshop. So that's where the true-false game comes in. We've got a couple of other games that we are adding. And most important, we try to convey to them that there are jobs out there. Now, we look at the local unemployment numbers over here in our neck of the woods on a monthly basis. Arlington Heights, for example, was 6.5% last month. Hoffman Estates in Schaumburg was 7.1. So we kind of launch into that and ask the people, hey, I mean, you know what the local unemployment rate is? And most of them either give the national unemployment rate or the state unemployment rate. And then you go in and say, ma'am, and you know what? Don't let the media fool you. It is not 9.74 or 9.76. In our neck of the woods, it's 7.1. Now, it may not look like that to you when you don't have a job yourself, but let's look at it realistically, that there are jobs out there. We also share information with the volunteers about the job order goals that we have for our office. For the Arlington Heights office, it is 300 job orders a month in Illinois Skills Match. For the last 6 months, believe it or not, even with the economy the way it is, we have been beating that number. So we kind of throw that in, that there are plenty of jobs out there. It may not be the dream job that you're looking for. Let's get real about it. But instead of sitting at home doing nothing, go into and get a job, any job. So that message is constantly repeated in the workshops. And here's what is happening. The volunteers, because they're presenting this message themselves for so long, they start to internalize the message and the process. And that's why, before you know it, we lose a volunteer, they go and find a job. Okay, and let's go a little bit further into the workshop components now. We're going to look at the tips on facilitating successful workshops. That is for our business services teams as to how they can set up this program themselves in their areas, and how can the volunteers successfully conduct a workshop. The workshop components basically are 3 to 4 over here. If you look at it, the preparing your resume, job search tools, the elevator speech, and preparing for an interview. Depending on the time that we have available at the end of the day, we also do some mock interviews. Preparing your resume, of course, there's some great information available on the Illinois WorkNet website, as also the information that we are gathering from local employers, from formatting the resume for electronic submission to the way that you save your resume. For example, most employers have not updated their computers to have Word 2007. So we tell the job seekers that when you write a resume for a specific job, first off, it has to be a targeted resume. And then you save your resume as a Word 2003 document. And you also save that as a plain text document. So if you're going to cut and paste on an online application, when it asks you to go browse and upload your resume, you use the plain text document. If you are sending the Word document as an attachment, send the Word 2003 documents, because if you don't have 2007 at the employer's end, the employer would not be able to open a 2007 document, which has an extension of DOCX. Little things like this are made part of the presentation in order to make sure that when you do send out your resume, it gets to where it is supposed to go and the employer is able to open and read it. Coming back to job search tools, we start off by showing them what is available on Illinois WorkNet and some of the videos that are there. The focus again is sharing with the people latest information as to where the employers are posting jobs. If you talk to a typical job seeker and ask them, how do you look for a job, the general answer is going to be, oh, I'm on the internet. Okay, what do you do on the internet? Well, I look at, the major job boards without naming any of them. And then when we go back and share with them that, based on the latest information that is coming in, the research that we are looking at, the hiring that was done through the major job boards last year was only 4%. It kind of opens up people's eyes like, oh, wow. Then where is the most hiring happening from? So we kind of go into that and we cover that. Job fairs, 4%. Staffing agencies, about 6%. Niche job boards like Dice.com for IT professionals, it was 7%. And so people come back and say, then, hey, hang on a second, where are the jobs being posted? Okay, 29% of the jobs that were filled last year was through networking or connecting. 36% was on company websites. And that really opens up people's eyes. And they say, okay, folks, I mean, look at this, 29 and 36, that's what about, 60+%, right? About 65%. This is where you need to spend 65% of your time, not 80% on the major job boards like you're doing. And then suddenly you see the light bulbs start going on in people's heads over there. We also talk about, going out for networking events. And the way that we are defining networking on, first we are dropping the word networking. We are using a new word called connecting. Because you network and network and network, nothing happens, but you connect with people and things start happening. And we talk about how they need to go to trade fairs, industry associations, and look for a job and connect with people over there, ask for informational interviews at these events. It could be a trade fair for any kind of product. It could be a plastics trade fair. So if someone is looking for an office job as an administrative assistant, their first question is, why do I go to a plastics industry fair? Well, every industry has got supportive jobs, from accounting to management to sales. And you get to meet people, you get to know people, you get to see if a company has got the money to set up a booth in a trade fair. Obviously, they have got a good revenue stream coming in, and they may be looking to hire some other people. So we share these innovative ideas with people for job search in the job search tools segment. I see that audio is going in and out. I don't know what's happening. I think Juana can answer that. Okay,
sometimes there's issues based on the networks and the systems. Can everyone let us know that you can hear okay?
Raise a show of hands, please.
Yeah, so I think it depends. If you're having trouble, just go ahead and call in and mute your speakers so that we can continue on with no audio issues.
Okay, I see a lot of people have raised their hands, so majority seem to be okay over here. The elevator speech that we share with them, again, this is part of the components of the workshop, where everybody knows what an elevator speech is. We are trying to get more and more job seekers to understand what is happening out in the market now. Our attention span, both as employers and consumers, has really shrunk. I mean, it is not today. There's no 60-second ads on television. I would rather have 4 15-second ads. It is the age of Twitter, 144 characters, and more employers are telling us that communication is highly prized in their employees now, especially with the glut of information that management is facing every single day. They want people who can communicate an idea in as few words as possible. And all starts with the elevator speech. So we want to make sure that people can practice how to sell themselves in as few words as possible. Preparing for an interview, the workshop goes into extreme details as to what should you do in an interview, what should you do before the interview, during the interview, and after the interview. We go even as far as to say that, when you go in for an interview, if you get a call, don't take the first available slot. If someone asks you to come in for an interview the next day, see if you can postpone it for at least one day so you can do some research on the company, find out what the products are, what the questions, concerns, what the competition is, so you can be a more informed, interviewee when you go for the interview. Sometimes we share with the people that if it is a local company, do a drive-by at the time of the interview that you're scheduled for, like a day before, see what the traffic patterns are so that you can have an alternate route to go there if traffic is backed up. Don't depend on your GPS or, your MapQuest directions to go over there. What should you take into the interview, what you should not take into the interview. Very interesting segment. I love that segment of it. Okay, then we get into the final tips after the workshop, as to what the presenters need to do. They need to summarize the agenda and key points, thank the participants, mention that comments and requests for copies should be sent to me over at the Illinois WorkNet office. Do a wrap-up of the presentations. This entire presentation is available for you to download later on and go through it at your convenience. We are about 41 minutes into the presentation now, and I'm not going to read every slide possible here for you guys, okay? Tips on facilitating a successful workshop. Let's take a look at it. First off, creating interest during the delivery. We train our volunteers on how to speak properly, how to vary their pitch and volume, how to move around the room, how to engage the audience. Make sure that they're not using any slang and, towards the language, and that they're showing confidence in their subject. And even standing in front of the screen, if you stand in front of the screen in the projector, it is, you are being projected on there, not the workshop. And how to involve the participants. We talk a lot about that, is how to involve the participants and also how to control a presentation. Make sure that you are running the presentation, not the audience. You've got people of all kinds in the audience, and sometimes they try to take over the presentation. And handling disruptive behavior. I don't know where Juana got that picture from, but that tells you all. Go sit in the corner kind of thing. And it is just so descriptive, that picture there. But we talk about moving near the person, calling on the participant, asking for the participant's attention. Sometimes people just might be wanting attention. Call a break to deal with an interrupter. I was making a presentation once at the Mount Prospect Library here, and an old lady kept on raising her hand every few seconds. I'm talking about the new rules for writing a resume in today's electronic world, and her hand goes up and she's like, but why do we have to follow that rule? Why can't employers do it the other way? I'm like, okay, ma'am. After a while, I got fed up. I walked up to her, stood real close to her and said, do you know the golden rule? And she makes the rules. And then everybody else kind of broke up after that. The tension was gone, and the lady had a big smile on her face, and she sat down. So we share with our trainers how to work with an audience, how to work with a crowd. And you know what? It makes them more and more comfortable in their own skin as public speakers. And when they go for an interview, guess what? They've been doing it, right? So they are so confident in their interviews. How do you transition to the next speaker? We talk a little bit about that. And then between each module, we have a 5 or 10 minute break. And what we're doing in these breaks now going forward is showing some funny movies about the interview process, about mistakes that people make in their resumes. There's lots of information out there, and in fact, in our last volunteer meeting, a couple of the volunteers have agreed, they have volunteered to write a script to where we can make a movie of our own now. So pretty soon you'll see an Illinois WorkNet LVIA 8 presentation. Some funny things about the mistakes that people do on the job search and interviewing. We're still working on that one. Have attended the Power Employment workshops. A 140 volunteers since February of 2000. 102 have found jobs through these partnerships. It is just wonderful. At any given time, we have 30 to 35 active volunteers. Some of the other things that we have done with the local libraries around us, here's what we found. We found the libraries to be the perfect partners for presenting these services, because libraries have the resources volunteer. We did a job fair at the Schaumburg on YouTube quite a bit and in different ways. If you see me and Bob Warzella from our IDEA's office dancing on YouTube, I mean, we got that also. Some creative solutions about working with partners. We have done some extensive work with local partners, and there was a proposal at one point to co-locate the Evanston office, which is now closed, with a local library. Nothing came off that. We also partner with local school districts. District 214, we held a Manufacture America conference last year in October 20th. As you can see, over 300 people attended the conference from across the country, with the Assistant Secretary of Commerce as the keynote speaker. We had a wonderful conference that day, and also did a job fair and a community resource fair the same day. About 2,400 people attended the community resources and job fair. Pretty busy day for us, all in one day. Got a couple more programs coming up. Now we are also starting to partner with the local YMCAs. In March, we have 2 and training provider fair. Now, most of the time now what we are doing is we have started to partner with a consulting company called the Medusa Consulting Group, and they are helping to put these things together. We are getting a lot of publicity and media outreach to these events. Also, there is going to be a conference on reshoring, where we are practically bringing in about 20 different manufacturing organizations to support this conference, which will focus on reshoring manufacturing jobs back to the country. And this will be at our partner community college, which is college. So we are doing a lot of things in partnership with all kinds of organizations. And all of these events, believe it or not, are basically our volunteers are working at these events. They help to promote the events. They help on the day of the events by helping out with the registrations and everything on site. And again, they are connecting with a lot of other people who are coming for these conferences. And it is helping them to find jobs for themselves also. So that is, in a nutshell, what we have been doing. And the next step is we are starting to identify a couple of things for our business outreach now, business services outreach. Now that employers are starting to hire again, we have come up with a complete marketing and outreach plan for the rest of this year with some specific goals which are based on the goals of IDES as far as job orders and employer outreach are concerned. We are using the goals that IDES has for the region. We take a percentage of that because really we don't have the staff that IDES has. And then we are thinking of ways to how can we maximize our efforts. We are starting off by identifying the active employers in Illinois Skills Match. Who are the employers in our area who are actively posting jobs? Then we take a look at those who are in Illinois Skills Match but who have not posted jobs recently. Then we are taking a look at the Workforce Board of Northern Cook County is very active in supporting our activities. I mean, the board is phenomenal in their thinking, and they are always forward thinking. So the board has given us some great tools, including a spider that the board subscribes to that looks at all the jobs that are posted on company websites, other job boards and everything, and gives us a weekly report. So we take a look at that weekly report now and take a look back and see how many of those employers who have posted jobs on their websites or other job boards have also posted jobs in Illinois Skills Match. If we find a few, then those are active, we start reaching out to them. if we found a few that have posted jobs over there, but they're not an Illinois skills match, that is a great lead for us to go and talk to them. So this is how we are doing things a little bit in an organized fashion, almost like running a marketing company now. It's run like a business. It's very focused on where can we have the best return on the investment of our time with the limited resources that we have. And I think with that we come to the end of today's presentation. That's our contact information. That's me on the left-hand side and Juana on the right-hand side. Ready for questions now, guys. It's about 1:51, so we got about 8-9 minutes for questions.
I'm going to go ahead and switch the screen so that you can see some of the polling pods. So as we're asking questions, I have the next steps up here. Go ahead and fill out these questions that we have. You can also post your Q&A questions in the Q&A chat pod. And then on the far right hand side, you have the share your best practices. A lot of you have been sharing throughout the webinar. We really appreciate it. Go ahead and shoot me an email with those ideas. I would love to hear more information on that. I'm also going to go ahead and put the open floor model on so that you can ask questions. So remember, do *# to request the floor.
The floor mode is on. To request the floor, enter *, then #.
So if you want to go ahead and ask a question on the conference call, you just go ahead and press *# to ask questions. One of the questions I did see, Mohammed, earlier on from Sally was how do you filter in the customers, the WIA customers, and have them become volunteers? So how do you know who to choose, basically?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, when we're looking at the volunteers, we make no distinction between if they are an administrative assistant or they are the vice president of the company. If they want to come and present a workshop, anybody is welcome. And we work with them and in teaching them how to present the workshops and how to become better public speakers. So anybody is welcome.
Any other questions? And then James, I see that you raised your hand. Go ahead and place your question in the Q&A chat pod. So go ahead and write that in, or you can press *# if you called in to ask the questions on the phone.
Okay, while James is typing his question in, again, to quickly, how long did it take to prep your first workshop? Okay, that's a question from Rick. Rick, basically, it took us a couple of weeks to put the first workshops together and to train the volunteers to present the workshops properly. And we are constantly revising those workshops, so it is not a static model. The information keeps on changing as and when I have the time. Usually about every quarter, we change a little bit of it, not the whole thing. Okay, any other questions coming up? We've got about 6 more minutes left. Feel free to ask. Eva has raised her hand. Okay, my audio is out of the percentage. It's 65%. No, it's over 75% got jobs now. Oh, you're talking about sorry, I'm looking at James. James, I got a report that I could send out to you. First off, I get 2 different kind of reports, which I kind of steal from other sources. But these are available on the internet, so it's not really stealing. I call it R&D, which is rip off and duplicate, not research and development in my words. The latest information that I had was 29% of the hiring that was done through networking, 36% through company websites. I mean, logically speaking, it does not cost a company, a whole lot of money to put an ad on their own website. So more and more companies are going that route.
And also, please note that you can post jobs industry, so the business does have to be a key sector industry, but this is a $4,000 service that you can offer to them for free. So this is another thing that you can tell them about.
Couple of questions. Eva is asking, how do you tactfully screen out individuals self-select themselves out if they tell them that, hey, you know what, you don't have the skill to be a volunteer. Now, I do get sometimes feedback about a volunteer being a little bit aggressive or abrasive in the presentation. If that happens, they get called into the principal's office. Basically, I sit down with them and very tactfully suggest to them that maybe they need to, reword a few comments, and if they are feeling stressed out, sometimes, to take the day off and not present the workshop that day. Cynthia, how many of your volunteers were re-entry candidates? Cynthia, I don't know what you mean by re-entry. If you're Sally, who select the volunteers? Messenger on our staff, and these people get in touch with them. Sometimes I get in touch with them. It is they select themselves to volunteer. I mean, the word has gotten out that this is a great program, and we are constantly, every week we are picking up about 2 to 3 volunteers, and we are losing a few to jobs.
Yeah, I also wanted to jump in for a second. There's also different roles for volunteers. Not all will be presenters, and I think that presenting in front of a big group is a little bit nerve-wracking as is. So as Mohammed said, I think that in general, you can kind of organize them for different tasks, would you say, Mohammed? So for those that are maybe not,
we have had that also. We have had volunteers come and sit in our resource center and work one-on-one with people on their resumes. We have had volunteers, who are good with computers but not so good at public speaking, come and help out job seekers in our computer lab to set up their emails and learn basic computing skills. So you're right. I mean, we do use them for other purposes, not just the workshops. Rick has a question. Are workshop participants registered, enrolled in the service, or hold some other status? Not necessarily, Rick. I mean, most of the workshop participants are invited to register with the VIA program. So we do push the VIA program for everybody who's coming there. But they don't have to be enrolled in any kind of service. Anybody is welcome to come. Eva says, do you perform any sort of background check, and volunteers would be willing to share your application for volunteers? No background check on volunteers, Eva, we don't do that. Our application for volunteers, basically, it's an email that they send out, and then we get back in touch with them, and then the entire expectations that we have for the volunteers are posted on the Google documents. And we talk with them one-on-one and walk them through what do we expect from them.
Something else I wanted to add in there is Mohammed didn't have a chance to really read through all those points on the various aspects, but when I was working on putting this together, I mean, it's a pretty rigorous process for them to keep up with. So I think that the people that are not very serious wouldn't make it through. I mean, there's a lot required. There's a lot asked of them.
Absolutely. Who refers the volunteers? Also, can you tell me more about partnering with our local library? Great question, Sally. Again, like I said, the volunteers are coming to us from all sources, from our VIA orientations to anybody that we interact with in any kind of forum. And the local libraries, it will be a great thing if you reach out to them and let them know about the Illinois WorkNet. And you can refer to our programs over here as to how we are partnering with 9 different libraries now. And the libraries are really, really happy because they are presenting a service to their constituents also.
I was just typing to Sally that we actually did a nationwide webinar for the Department of Labor on partnering with libraries. So we have that information available if you want guidance on kind of how to reach out and make that happen.
Yeah, that was July 18th of last year, and we started off with Schaumburg Library, and John Erickson was the business librarian, and John and I talked about this program at the national webinar also. Okay, 201, Juana.
That's right. Thank you so much, everyone. These have been some really great questions. Everyone's very interactive today. I will post all of this on, as I mentioned, on the Workforce Professionals Pathway. It will be available under Resources, Assisting Businesses, and it's called BST Professional Development. That will be available to you, and I'll let you know when by sending you a follow-up email. Also, if you have particular questions, I'm going to go ahead and put the Q&A, the contact information up again. Go ahead and reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to share these resources. Mohammed's got plenty of stuff to give you as well if you need more specifics. And then I will post all of this information on there, including the archived webinar. So this is a good way for those that didn't make it on today. Maybe they're still, you know, hiding out from the snow or whatever's going on. They can watch this at their own desk in their own home and watch the training as they need it. So thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate your time. And Mohammed, thank you.